Greetings, seekers of the abyss. How are you all doing today? I hope you're doing very, very well because today, prepare yourselves. We're going to explore something that has truly haunted me for weeks now. You see, some dystopias show us futures where humanity fights for freedom, where there's resistance, where there's hope, where maybe, just maybe, we can change things. But the universes we're exploring today, these are different. Very, very different. These are futures so dark, so absolutely hopeless, that fighting becomes meaningless. Hope is extinct. It vanished before humanity even realized it was gone. Today we're going to trace a list of the darkest science fiction worlds ever created. Worlds where humanity lost before the battle even began. And I assure you, by the end of this video, you're going to see our own reality in a very different light. Let's start. We begin with a world that terrifies because of how close it feels, how plausible it is. This is Gilead from Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale. The United States has collapsed. Environmental disasters, plummeting birth rates, and political extremism created the perfect storm. In its place rises a theocratic totalitarian regime called Gilead. The leaders use religion as a weapon of absolute control, and the primary targets? Women. All women, especially those who can still bear children. Fertility has plummeted catastrophically in this world. Pollution, radiation, disease, something has rendered most women sterile. Birth rates crashed to near zero, and this crisis became the perfect excuse for everything that follows. The few women who remain fertile become handmaids. These women are property, assigned to powerful men called commanders for one purpose: to bear their children because their wives are barren. They're dressed in red robes and white bonnets, visible symbols of their role in this society. The regime institutionalizes this system through something they call the ceremony. They dress it up in biblical language, reading passages from Genesis about Rachel and her handmaid. They make it sacred, make it holy, make it God's will. What it really is, though, systematic violation of human rights, month after month, until the handmaid becomes pregnant, or until she's deemed worthless and sent to die in the toxic wastelands they call the colonies. Picture what this actually means. You're a woman. Maybe you were a professor, a doctor, a writer. You had a name, you had an identity, you had a life. Then one day, soldiers come, they take you from your home, they separate you from your family, your husband, your children. You'll never see them again. They send you to the Red Center, a reprogramming facility where they break you down psychologically. They show you videos of women being punished, executed. They tell you this is your fault. Your old life was sinful. God is punishing women for their pride, their independence, their rejection of their biological purpose. The ants, women who enforce the system, they teach you through fear and psychological manipulation. They teach you that you are nothing, that your only value is your womb, that you should be grateful. Grateful for this role. Grateful to carry a child you'll never be allowed to raise. Grateful to even exist at all. The handmaids lose everything, their names, their identities, their humanity. A woman named June becomes Offred, literally of Fred, possessing no identity beyond being Fred's property. The name changes with each assignment. You are erased. You become a walking womb. Your personhood dissolved into biological function. The horror spreads to all women in this society. The wives wear blue. They have status. They have homes. Yet they're prisoners too, prisoners in gilded cages. They have no autonomy, no independence. Their entire worth is tied to their husband's rank. They must participate in the ceremony, present during this monthly ritual, creating this grotesque situation where even the violation requires female participation. The Marthas are servants, women too old or damaged to be handmaids. They wear green, they cook, they clean, they serve. They're invisible, ignored, valueless beyond their labor, domestic machines in human form. The Econoids are poor women, married to poor men. They wear striped colors because they must perform all roles, wife, servant, and breeder, for their own husbands at least. Small mercy in this nightmare. They're the multi-purpose tools of the lower classes. And the unwomen, women who are infertile, too old, too rebellious, sent to the colonies to clean up toxic waste until radiation poisoning kills them. A slow, agonizing death sentence disguised as labor. their bodies breaking down as they scrub contaminated soil, their hair falling out, their skin blistering, dying inches at a time for the crime of being useless to the regime. The society accepts this, normalizes it. You walk through the streets of what used to be Boston, and you see people going about their daily lives as if this is normal, as if enslaving women is normal, as if public executions are normal, as if a theocratic dictatorship is the natural order of things. Maybe that's the most terrifying part. How quickly the abnormal becomes normal, how quickly people adjust to atrocity if it happens gradually enough, if it's justified properly, if everyone around you accepts it. The human capacity for normalization is infinite. We can adapt to anything if the alternative is resistance and death. Resistance exists, though. The Mayday Resistance Network operates in shadows. People risk everything to help handmaids escape to Canada, ferrying them through underground railroads, forging documents, bribing guards. Resistance is dangerous, incredibly dangerous. Speak out of turn, severe punishment, try to run. You're executed and hung on the wall as a warning, your body displayed in the city center, a reminder of what happens to those who dare. The punishment system is brutal and public, the salvagings, where handmaids are forced to participate in executing another handmaid. They put a hood over the victim's head, blow a whistle, and the other handmaids must participate in this state-sanctioned punishment, channeling their rage, their trauma, their helplessness into this terrible act. The persecutions where women are allowed to attack accused criminals with their bare hands, except the accused might be innocent, might be a political dissident, might be anyone the regime wants disappeared. The women don't know. They just know they're allowed this release, to channel years of suppressed violence onto a sanctioned target. It's psychological manipulation at its finest. Think about the children born in this world, the children raised in Gilead. They know nothing else. To them, this is how things have always been. Little girls wear pink and dream of becoming wives, learning to be submissive, to be ornamental, to find their worth in serving men. Little boys learn that women are property, that women exist to serve men, that dominance is godly, the concept of equality, of freedom, of basic human rights. These are dangerous ideas, sins against God, crimes punishable by death. The regime controls everything: what you eat, where you go, who you speak to, what you wear. They've created a color-coded caste system so efficient that you can identify someone's role from across the street. Red for handmaids, blue for wives, green for Marthas, brown for aunts, black for commanders. The visual hierarchy is absolute, inescapable. You can't hide your position in this society. They've weaponized pregnancy so completely that seeing a pregnant handmaid triggers both envy and disgust. Envy from the infertile wives who want that child. Disgust from everyone else who sees the visible proof of this system. The pregnant handmaid becomes simultaneously the most valuable and most degraded person in society. Margaret Atwood used nothing that hasn't already happened in human history. Every single atrocity in Gilead has a real-world precedent. The systematic oppression, the theocratic justifications, the public executions, the dehumanization. She simply combined them all into one nightmare state, like a compilation of humanity's darkest moments. This future requires no aliens, no supernatural forces, no advanced technology, just human cruelty, religious extremism, and the slow erosion of rights that people barely notice until it's far too late. First they came for reproductive rights, then for freedom of movement, then for access to money and property, then for literacy. Each step justified, each step normalized, each step irreversible. The fertility crisis was the excuse. The truth is simpler and darker. A group of men wanted absolute power. They wanted to control women's bodies, women's lives, women's very existence. They used fear, religion, and violence to achieve it. The birth rate crisis was real, yes. The solution, though, the solution had nothing to do with solving the crisis. It had everything to do with control, with dominance, with creating a permanent underclass. This world could happen tomorrow. The mechanisms are already in place in various societies around the world. All it takes is the right crisis, the right fear, the right demagogue promising to restore order, to make things like they used to be, to return to traditional values. That possibility, that plausibility, that's what makes Gilead so terrifying. We're closer to this future than we want to admit. Now we descend deeper, much deeper. We leave the surface world behind entirely. Welcome to Metro 2033. Welcome to life in the tunnels beneath Moscow. Nuclear war has devastated the surface. Moscow, like every other city, is gone, reduced to glowing ruins where mutants hunt through the rubble. The air on the surface is deadly. One breath without a gas mask, and your lungs begin to blister. 3 minutes, and you're coughing blood. 10 minutes, and you're dead. Humanity's survivors fled underground, into the Moscow metro system, into the subway tunnels that Stalin had built deep enough to double as bomb shelters. There they remain. 20,000 souls. Maybe more in other metro systems around the world, though they'll never know. Moscow's survivors are utterly, completely alone. Let me describe what daily life looks like in this subterranean prison. You wake up in a metro station that has become your entire world. The station has been converted into living space. The platform where trains once stopped now holds makeshift markets. People trading bullets for mushrooms, mushrooms for filters, filters for ammunition. Bullets are currency here. Bullets mean survival when the mutants come. Your bed is a cot in a tunnel corridor. Maybe you have a curtain for privacy if you're lucky. Probably you don't. You can hear everything. The family arguing 3 beds down. The child crying from hunger. The old man coughing wetly, dying slowly from the bad air. The air. Let me tell you about the air. It smells of mold, of sweat, of human waste poorly managed. The ventilation systems are old, breaking down, barely functional. Some stations have air so thick and foul that you need to wear a filter mask even underground. You taste metal constantly. That's the recycled air, endlessly circulating through ancient Soviet machinery. Water drips constantly from the ceiling. That rhythmic sound, drip, 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 it never stops, ever. In your sleep you hear it. In your waking hours you hear it. It's the heartbeat of the metro. Sometimes the water is clean enough to drink. Sometimes it's contaminated with seepage from above, carrying radiation. You work your shift. Maybe you're a guard, standing watch at the tunnel entrance to your station, watching the darkness for movement, for the mutants that crawl through the tunnels, the rats the size of dogs, the no-salases that hunt in packs, the dark ones that whisper in your mind and drive men mad. Maybe you're a farmer, tending to the mushroom crops that grow in the darkness. Mushrooms are the primary food source because they're the only thing that will grow without sunlight. You cultivate them on beds of decomposing organic matter. You harvest them. You eat them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, every single day, forever. Or maybe you're a scavenger, one of the brave or desperate souls who ventures into abandoned stations to find supplies from the old world. You put on your gas mask, check your weapon, and you go into tunnels where the lights have failed, where things live that used to be human. You're looking for canned food from 20 years ago, medicine that's expired, ammunition, filters for gas masks, and you pray you make it back, because the tunnels are dark, the kind of dark where your flashlight beam seems to be swallowed by the shadows, where you hear sounds you can't identify. The lights in the inhabited stations flicker constantly. Electricity is precious, generated by old diesel generators that burn fuel scavenged from God knows where. Power failures are common, and when the lights go out in the metro, the darkness is absolute, total, complete. And in that darkness, you hear things moving, scratching, breathing. You hear the mutants getting bolder, testing the defenses. You hear people screaming in other sections. You hear gunfire, and you sit in the pitch black, clutching whatever weapon you have, praying the lights come back on. You eat mushroom soup, again, like yesterday, like the day before, like every day for the past 20 years. Maybe once a year, during a festival, someone finds a can of meat from before the war. It's divided among the entire station. Each person gets a spoonful, and that taste, that tiny amount of real meat, is so overwhelming that people cry. Actually cry, because they'd forgotten food could taste like something other than mushrooms. Children are born in this world, children who have never seen the sun, who have never seen the sky, who have never felt wind on their faces or rain or snow. They ask their parents, "What is blue?" because they've heard the sky used to be blue, though they can't imagine what that means. Everything in their world is gray concrete, black shadows, the dim yellow of emergency lighting. These children grow up thinking the metro is the entire universe. The tunnels are the world. The stations are countries. Beyond that, there is only death, only the poisoned surface, only the ruins where nothing lives except radiation and monsters. There is no escape. The surface is deadly, permanently. The radiation levels show no signs of decreasing. Scientists measure it, calculate it. In another 100 years, maybe the surface will be habitable again. Maybe, probably longer, maybe never. The atmosphere itself is damaged beyond repair. Something about the nuclear exchange altered the weather patterns permanently. Poisonous acid rain falls on the ruins. Strange electrical storms light up the sky. The world above is broken in ways that might never heal. Some optimistic fools still dream of returning topside one day. They form cults, like the Polis Station's academics who believe they can rebuild, who collect books, preserve knowledge, plan for a future on the surface. The realists, the ones who've been topside and seen the ruins, they know the truth. This is forever. The Metro is humanity's tomb, a tomb where we're still alive, still breathing, still reproducing. Generation after generation will be born in these tunnels, live in these tunnels, and die in these tunnels without ever seeing the sky. Think about that. Your entire existence confined to a few kilometers of subway tunnel. You can walk from one end of your world to the other in an hour. That's it. That's all you'll ever see. The same concrete walls, the same dim lights, the same faces of the same 1,000 people in your station. And you'll die there. Your children will die there. Their children will die there, until eventually, inevitably, the systems fail, the pumps stop working, and the tunnels flood, the generators break down, the filters run out, and the Metro becomes humanity's mass grave. It gets worse, because humanity, even in this confined nightmare, even facing extinction, cannot stop fighting itself. The Metro is divided into factions, communists at the Red Line, fascists at the Reich, the Hansa capitalists who control trade routes, religious fanatics who worship the radiation itself. All these factions competing for limited resources, all willing to kill for one more station, one more water filtration system, one more tunnel. The wars in the Metro are brutal. Close quarters combat in narrow tunnels where a grenade can kill dozens. Poison gas attacks are effective because there's nowhere to run. Entire stations get flooded deliberately, everyone inside left to drown. Tunnels are sealed off. The defenders inside left to suffocate slowly. And for what? For control over a slightly larger section of this underground prison. For the illusion of power in a world where everyone is powerless. For ideologies that mean nothing when your species is dying. In 20 years, thousands have died in these faction wars. Thousands more to the mutants, to radiation exposure, to disease, to accidents. The population is declining. Slowly, steadily, everyone knows it, even if they don't talk about it. And then there are the Dark Ones, creatures that might have been human once. Or maybe they evolved from something else. They're tall, dark, hairless beings that radiate psychic energy. They whisper in your mind, show you visions. Some people go mad from the contact. Others become their servants, worshiping them as the next stage of evolution. The truth about the Dark Ones is murky. Are they hostile? Are they trying to communicate? Are they humanity's replacement? No one knows. They're feared absolutely. Stations that have Dark Ones nearby are considered cursed. Every day in the Metro is a struggle to maintain sanity, to remember what the sun looked like, to hold on to the memory of a world that no longer exists. The older generations still talk about it, about cars and airplanes, about the internet, about restaurants and movies and parks. The children, the ones born in the tunnels, they listen to these stories like fairy tales, like myths of a golden age. They can't truly imagine a world with a sky, with horizons, with anything beyond concrete walls and endless darkness. And slowly, as the old generations die, those memories die with them. Soon, there will be no one left who remembers the world before. The Metro will be all that humanity knows, a species of tunnel dwellers who forgot they were ever anything else. This is the world of Metro 2033, life under the earth, in the cold, in the darkness, with no future except slow extinction, forever. Now we enter territory that is difficult to discuss, painful to contemplate, because this next world strips away everything that makes life worth living. This is the world of Cormac McCarthy's The Road, and it's the most nihilistic future on this list. The apocalypse happened. We don't know how, We don't know why. A father and his son walk south through the ruins of America, and they never discuss what caused the end. Maybe they don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter. What matters is the result. Everything is dead. Let me repeat that because it's important to truly understand. Everything is dead. There are no animals, none, zero. A single bird doesn't sing in the morning. No insects buzz, no fish swim in the streams, no deer hide in the woods. All extinct. Every single species of animal on Earth, gone. There are no plants. The trees stand bare and gray, their branches reaching up like skeletal hands begging a deaf sky for mercy that will never come. No leaves grow, no grass sprouts, no flowers bloom. Nothing green exists anywhere on Earth. The sky is perpetually gray, a thick layer of ash suspended in the atmosphere, blocking out the sun. This ash falls constantly, endlessly. It coats everything, the roads, the ruined buildings, the corpses, the living. A fine powder of what used to be forests and cities and people, falling forever. The sun is rarely visible through the clouds. When it does appear, it's a pale disk offering no warmth, barely any light. Just a reminder that it's still there, still burning, uncaring that the world below has died. It's cold, always cold. The temperature is dropping year by year as more ash accumulates in the atmosphere. Some survivors speculate they're heading into a new ice age. Others argue it doesn't matter because everyone will be dead long before the Earth freezes over. Food is gone. There are no farms, no crops, no way to grow anything in the dead, poisoned soil. The survivors scavenge in the ruins of the old world, searching through abandoned houses, breaking into locked basements, looking for canned goods years past their expiration date, fighting over a can of beans, killing each other for a package of crackers. And when the canned food runs out, which it inevitably must, there's only one food source left: each other. Cannibalism is everywhere in this world. The roads are stalked by hunting parties, groups of men, and sometimes women, who have abandoned their humanity to survive a little longer. They've organized, created systems. They're hunters, and other humans are the prey. They keep captives in cellars, in the basements of ruined houses, naked, half-starved people locked in darkness. The hunters cut off pieces to eat, while keeping the victims alive as long as possible. An arm, a leg, piece by piece, keeping the meat fresh. The horror of being captured is worse than any death. You're kept alive while they consume you slowly. You watch them eat your own flesh. You know what's coming. You beg for death, and they won't give it to you because dead meat spoils quickly. The father and son we follow in this story, they travel with a pistol. 2 bullets left. Just 2. 1 bullet for the boy, 1 for himself. Because being captured means a fate worse than any death imaginable. The father has promised his son, "If the bad guys catch us, I'll shoot you first. I won't let them take you." Think about that promise. A father who loves his son more than life itself, carrying a gun to kill that same son if necessary, to spare him from horror, to give him the mercy of a quick death. That's the world of the road, where the greatest act of love is a bullet. Picture their daily existence. Wake up cold and hungry every single morning. You didn't sleep well because your father barely slept at all. He was on watch, listening for footsteps, for voices, for any sign of danger. You're both weak from malnutrition, trembling from cold, covered in gray ash. You walk south. You walk because south means maybe, possibly it might be warmer, though probably it's the same everywhere. You walk because stopping means giving up, and giving up means death, so you walk. You push a shopping cart full of your scavenged possessions, blankets, tarps, a few cans of food if you're lucky. The pistol with its 2 precious bullets, that's your entire world, your entire civilization. A shopping cart of junk on a dead road leading nowhere. You scavenge through abandoned buildings, always listening for footsteps, for voices, for the sound of other people because other people mean danger. Sometimes you find nothing, sometimes you find something. A can of peaches hidden in a basement, and that can, that single can, is a treasure beyond measure. And sometimes you find something worse. You find evidence of what happened to the previous occupants. Bloodstains on the walls, bones in the basement, signs of consumption. And you leave quickly, quietly, before whoever did that comes back. At night, you hide. In the woods, though the dead trees offer little shelter. under tarps, trying to be invisible. Your father barely sleeps. He must watch. He must listen. He must protect you from a world that sees you as nothing more than food. Sometimes you hear them in the distance, the hunting parties. You hear them on the road, laughing, talking, dragging something that used to be human. You hold your breath. You pray they don't find you. You wait in the darkness until the sounds fade. And the boy. Let me tell you about the boy. He was born after the apocalypse. He has never seen a world with life in it. He has never seen an animal except maybe in a faded picture. Never heard a bird sing. Never seen any living creature except other starving humans. He's never tasted fresh fruit. Never eaten a vegetable. Never had a meal that wasn't scavenged canned goods. He's never known a day without hunger, without fear, without the gray ash falling eternally from the gray sky. His father tells him stories of the old world, of grocery stores full of food, of restaurants, of zoos with animals, of television and movies, of cars and airplanes, of summer days at the beach, of Christmas mornings with presents and family and happiness. And the boy listens the way you or I would listen to tales of Atlantis, myths of a world too beautiful to have ever been real. He knows his father believes these stories are true. Deep down, though, the boy can't quite believe them. They're too fantastical, like fairy tales. The father tries to teach the boy morality in this immoral world. He tells him they're the good guys, that they don't eat people, that they help others when they can, that they carry the fire of human civilization. The boy sees the world as it is, though. He sees that helping others might mean dying themselves. He sees that morality is a luxury they can barely afford. And sometimes the boy asks questions his father can't answer. Are we going to die? And the father lies. No, we're going to be okay. They both know the truth, though. Everyone dies in this world. It's just a question of when and how. The father knows, even if he won't admit it out loud, that they're walking toward nothing. There is no safety in the South. The rumors of other survivors, of communities, of places where life has returned, they're just rumors. Probably lies. Probably false hope. They walk because stopping means giving up. And the father refuses to give up as long as his son is alive. As long as there's even a chance. Here's the truth that haunts this world, though. Death would be mercy. Extinction would be kindness. The planet is dying. Slowly, inevitably, irreversibly. In a few more years, maybe a decade, the last can of food will be eaten. And then what? Then cannibalism until there are no more people to eat. Until the last human dies alone, having eaten all the others. Or maybe the cold gets them first. The temperature keeps dropping. Maybe the ice age comes before the starvation. Maybe humanity freezes to death in the endless gray winter. Or maybe disease. Without proper nutrition, immune systems fail. Without medicine, infections kill. A simple cut can mean death. However it happens, the end is the same. The last human will die, and Earth will be silent, dead. A gray tomb spinning through space with nothing living on it. Nothing except maybe some bacteria deep in the oceans. The simplest forms of life, continuing without us. And no one will remember humanity existed. No one will find our ruins and wonder about our civilization. There are no aliens coming to discover Earth. We'll simply be gone, erased, forgotten by a universe that never cared we were here. The father and son keep going because love demands it, because giving up feels like betrayal, because as long as they're alive, as long as they're together, there's meaning. Deep down, though, they both know the truth. They're walking toward nothing, toward nowhere, toward the end. And that silence, that gray ash falling forever, that complete absence of hope, that knowledge that this is how it ends, with slow starvation on a dead road leading nowhere. That's what makes the road one of the darkest futures ever imagined, because it could happen. Something could break the ecological chain so completely that life simply stops. A nuclear winter, a supervolcano, an asteroid impact. And if it does, this is what comes after. Cold and gray and hungry and hopeless, until there's nothing left. Let me ask you a question. What gives humanity hope for the future? What makes us build skyscrapers that will stand for centuries? What makes us plant trees we'll never see grow? It's simple. Children. The next generation. The knowledge that life continues after us. Now imagine that stops. Imagine the births simply stop. Imagine fertility ending everywhere, all at once, for reasons no one understands. Welcome to the world of Children of Men, based on P.D. James's novel, adapted into Alfonso Cuarón's haunting film, a world that shows us the quietest apocalypse imaginable. The year is 2027. 18 years have passed since the last human birth. In 2009, suddenly without any warning, every woman on Earth became infertile. Pregnancies stopped, babies stopped being born, the maternity wards emptied and stayed empty. At first, people thought it was temporary, a medical anomaly that science would quickly solve. Research facilities worked frantically to understand the cause, to find a cure, to restore fertility. Governments poured unlimited resources into the problem. They found nothing. No virus, no bacteria, no radiation, no chemical contamination, no genetic mutation, no explanation at all. Humanity's ability to reproduce simply stopped, like someone flipped a switch and turned off our future. Pay attention to how this world falls apart, because it's fascinating and terrifying in its realism. The first few years were filled with panic and desperate hope. Every woman who was already pregnant became infinitely precious. Guards protected them. Special facilities housed them. The entire world waited to see if these pregnancies would complete. They did. Those last babies, born in late 2009 and early 2010, they were normal, healthy, perfect, and they became the youngest humans on Earth. Baby Diego, Hannah, the last children. The world celebrated them, obsessed over them. Every milestone was global news. Their first words, their first steps, their birthdays. The whole planet watched these children grow up because they represented hope. Years passed, though, and no more pregnancies. Zero. Nowhere on Earth. The desperate hope turned to grim acceptance. This was permanent. This was the end. And here's where it gets truly dark. This is where you see humanity's soul exposed. Because faced with extinction, people react in predictable ways. Terrible ways. Suicide rates skyrocketed. Why keep living in a world with no future? Why struggle when humanity is finished anyway? Entire families took poison together. Mass suicide pacts. Quietus became a brand name for government-sponsored suicide kits. The right to die became accepted, even encouraged. Religious extremism exploded. Flagellants marched through streets whipping themselves, crying that this was God's judgment. Cults formed, believing that the right prayers could restore fertility. Some believed God had abandoned us. Others believed we were in the end times. The religious landscape fragmented into 1,000 desperate beliefs. Violence became epidemic. Without children to protect, without a future to build for, what's the point of civilization? What's the point of law, of order? Crime exploded. Riots, looting, wars. Countries invaded each other over dwindling resources. The UK, where the story is set, became a fascist state. One of the last functioning governments on Earth, functioning through martial law, though. They closed their borders completely. Immigrants and refugees, fleeing collapsed nations, were labeled fugees and rounded up into concentration camps. Caged, brutalized, deported if they were lucky, killed if they weren't. The government's reasoning: resources are limited. There's no point wasting them on foreigners. Take care of our own first. Let the rest of the world burn. It's ugly, racist, fascist logic. Human logic when faced with extinction, though. Most British citizens accepted it. They accepted the checkpoints, the armed soldiers on every corner, the surveillance, the camps, because it gave them the illusion of order in a dying world. The worst part, though, is what happened to meaning, to purpose, to the point of anything. Schools closed. Why educate children when there are no children? The buildings stand empty, playgrounds rusting, classrooms frozen in time with faded alphabet posters on the walls. Toys disappeared from stores, baby clothes, strollers. All the infrastructure of childhood simply vanished. Some people kept their children's rooms unchanged, like shrines. Others couldn't bear it and destroyed everything. Future-oriented thinking collapsed. Why invest in anything long-term? Why plant trees? Why build bridges meant to last a century? Why create art for future generations? There are no future generations. There is only now. Only the slow decline. Only waiting for the end. The youngest people, those last babies born in 2009, they became celebrities, worshipped. Baby Diego, the youngest person in the world, was constantly followed by cameras, mobbed by fans. He couldn't go anywhere without security. His life wasn't his own. He belonged to humanity. And when he died in a bar fight at age 18, the whole world mourned, genuinely mourned, because now the youngest person was someone slightly older. And when that person dies, the youngest will be older still, and so on. Until the last human, the oldest survivor, dies alone. Think about growing up in this world. You're a teenager. You know, intellectually, that humanity is doomed, that you're watching your species die, that everyone around you will die, and there's no one coming after. How do you find meaning? How do you have ambition? Why study? Why work? Why care about anything? The psychological weight is crushing. Most young people in this world are suicidal or hedonistic or both, living fast because there's no point in living slow, taking every drug, seeking every pleasure, burning bright before the darkness. The older generations are sometimes worse. They remember when they were children, when schools were full, when the future seemed endless, and they're watching it all die, watching their grandchildren grow old without ever having children of their own. The grief is unbearable. Some people just stop. They sit in their homes and wait to die. Depression so deep it becomes catatonia. Just sit and wait, and eventually fade away. Others become violent, angry at the world, at God, at fate. They lash out, hurt people, destroy things. Because if the world is ending, why hold back? And the government maintains control through fear and propaganda. They broadcast fertility treatments that everyone knows are fake. They show happy images of British resilience while hiding the camps, the violence, the decay. Here's what makes this future so devastatingly effective as horror, though. It's quiet. There are no monsters, no aliens, no supernatural forces. There's just an ending. A silent, inexplicable ending. The apocalypse doesn't look like explosions and screaming. It looks like empty playgrounds, closed schools, aging populations, governments collapsing one by one, infrastructure failing because there's no one young enough to maintain it, knowledge being lost as the old die and take their expertise with them. It's a whimper rather than a bang, a slow fade to black. Humanity dying of old age, collectively, watching its own extinction in slow motion over decades. And the worst part? The not knowing why. If there were a cause, maybe you could fight it. A virus, create a vaccine, pollution, clean the environment. When there's no cause, though, there's nothing to fight. You're just finished for no reason, and that senselessness is perhaps more terrifying than any monster. The few people who still search for a cure are seen as delusional, crazy. Maybe that delusion is necessary, though. Maybe believing there's still a chance, even when there isn't, is what keeps some people alive. In the story, when a pregnant woman appears, impossibly, miraculously pregnant, the whole world explodes. Every faction wants her, to study her, to control her, to use her baby as proof of their ideology. The child becomes a weapon before it's even born. And you realize that even faced with a miracle, humanity can't stop fighting itself, can't stop being human, selfish, violent, divided. This world terrifies me on a visceral level because I can see it happening. Fertility rates are already dropping in developed nations. Sperm counts are declining, births are down. And while we haven't hit zero, the trajectory is concerning. What if it is environmental? What if all our pollution, our plastics, our chemicals have done something we don't understand? What if one day the pregnancies just decrease and decrease until they stop? We wouldn't know why. We might never know why. And we'd watch helplessly as our species ended, as the last generation grew old, as the cities emptied, as civilization unwound. That's the horror of children of men, quiet, inevitable. The world continues, the sun rises. There are no children playing in the morning, though, and soon there will be no one at all. Now we enter worlds where the question changes. It's no longer, will humanity survive? It becomes, what does it mean to be human? Welcome to the world of Blade Runner, based on Philip K. Dick's novel, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? A world where humanity won the war, where we survived, where civilization continues. And it's hell anyway. World War Terminus happened. Nuclear weapons, biological warfare, chemical attacks. The kind of war where both sides lose, where victory means you're standing on the ashes of everything you were trying to protect. Earth survived, humanity survived, civilization continues. It's just that Earth is now a toxic wasteland. Picture Los Angeles in 2019, or San Francisco in the novel. The cities still stand, people still live there, life goes on. Except it's a life defined by decay. It rains constantly. Acid rain from the polluted atmosphere. The kind of rain that eats through metal, that stings exposed skin, that turns everything gray and corroded. The rain never stops. Day after day, year after year. The sky is never clear, perpetual overcast. The sun rarely breaks through the pollution. When it does, it's a sickly yellow disk that offers no warmth. Just a reminder that up there, beyond the smog, there's still a sun. You just can't reach it. The streets are crowded, overpopulated. Millions of people crammed into decaying megacities because the countryside is dead, rendered uninhabitable by radiation and chemical contamination. The cities are all that's left, and they're barely holding together. The buildings are massive, towering arcologies that house thousands. Neon signs flicker in multiple languages. The cultural melting pot of humanity crushed together in desperation. Asian characters mix with English. Spanish blends with Russian. Everyone fleeing dead nations to crowd into the few remaining functional cities. The wealthy live in the upper levels, penthouses with filtered air, with views of the city sprawl below, with access to real food, real medicine, real luxury. They can afford to leave Earth entirely if they want. Emigrate to the off-world colonies, start fresh on Mars or the outer planets. The poor live below, in the streets, in the lower levels where the rain collects in toxic puddles, where the air is thick with smog, where every breath shortens your lifespan. And here's the thing that makes this world so insidious: the segregation of hope. The rich can leave, can escape to the colonies. The poor are trapped, too poor to emigrate, too poor to afford the health treatments that would qualify them for colony life, stuck on a dying Earth while the wealthy flee to the stars. The government encourages emigration, constant advertising. A new life awaits you in the off-world colonies, a chance to begin again. They make it sound like paradise, and compared to Earth, it probably is. The colonies need labor though, hard labor, dangerous labor, mining, construction, terraforming, work that kills humans too quickly to be sustainable. So they created a solution: replicants, artificial humans, bioengineered, grown in labs rather than born. They look human, sound human, think and feel and bleed like humans, stronger than humans, smarter than humans in specific ways, perfect slaves, because that's what they are, slaves. The Tyrell Corporation builds them for specific purposes: combat models, pleasure models, labor models, each designed with skills and memories implanted to make them compliant, to make them useful, and to make sure they don't rebel. They're given a 4-year lifespan, built-in expiration dates, 4 years to serve, and then they die. No exceptions, no appeals, just genetic programming counting down to termination. Think about what that means though. You're a replicant. You wake up with memories of a childhood you never had, of parents you never met, of experiences that were implanted, crafted to give you a personality. You believe you're real, that your memories are real, that your life has meaning, and then you discover the truth. You're artificial. Your memories are fake. Your entire existence is manufactured, and you have maybe 2 years left before your genetic programming shuts you down, before you die for no reason other than convenience. Some replicants rebel. They escape from the off-world colonies back to Earth. They try to find their creators. They try to demand more life. They fight for the right to exist beyond their programmed expiration date. And they're hunted by Blade Runners, special police units trained to identify and retire rogue replicants. Retire. That's the euphemism, the polite word for execute, for killing beings that are so close to human that the distinction barely matters. The Blade Runners use a test, the Voight-Kampff test. It measures emotional responses, because replicants supposedly lack empathy, lack true emotional depth. They can fake it, simulate it. Something in their responses is off though, something detectable. Except the newer models are so advanced that the test barely works. The line between human and replicant blurs. Maybe it was never there to begin with. Maybe we just needed to believe there was a difference to justify the slavery. Rick Deckard, the protagonist, is a Blade Runner. His job is to hunt rogue replicants, to retire them, and throughout the story, he's forced to confront uncomfortable questions. What makes someone human? Is it biology? Is it memory? Is it empathy? If a replicant can feel, can love, can fear death, can experience joy and sorrow, what's the difference? Why do they deserve to die while we deserve to live? And then there's the question that haunts the film especially. Is Deckard himself a replicant? The film hints, suggests, shows evidence that maybe he is. Maybe he's been retired and replaced with a compliant copy. Maybe his memories are implanted. Maybe he's hunting his own kind without realizing it. The existential horror of that possibility, that you might be artificial, that your entire sense of self might be manufactured, that everything you remember, everything you believe about yourself, might be someone else's design. Meanwhile, Earth continues its slow death. Animal life is almost completely extinct. Real animals are so rare that owning one is the ultimate status symbol. A real horse, a real sheep, proof that you're wealthy enough to afford authentic life in a world of fakes. Most people own electric animals instead, artificial pets that simulate life well enough to fool casual observation. People pretend their electric sheep is real, they care for it, show it off to neighbors, everyone maintaining the polite fiction because admitting you can't afford a real animal means admitting you've failed. The novel focuses on this detail more than the film, the desperate need to own something alive, something real. The way people obsess over animals because animals represent what Earth used to be, what we lost, what we'll never get back. And there's a religion in the novel, mercerism, based on empathy boxes that allow people to share suffering, to connect through pain. Because in a world this bleak, sharing pain is the only way to feel less alone. The only way to maintain humanity is through communal suffering. The final scene of the film is perhaps the most beautiful and devastating moment in science fiction cinema. Roy Batty, the lead replicant, dying from his programmed expiration, saves Deckard's life, and then delivers a speech. I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched C-beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhäuser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain, time to die. And he dies. This artificial being, this manufactured slave, dies with more grace and wisdom than any human in the film. He's lived 4 years full of wonder and horror and beauty and violence. And he knows that when he dies, all of it disappears. His memories, his experiences, his consciousness. Gone, like tears in rain. The tragedy isn't just that he dies, it's that his death means nothing. No one will remember him. No one will know what he saw, what he felt, what he was, because he was considered property, disposable, less than human. And if replicants are less than human, what does that make us? What does it say about humanity that we can create beings capable of experiencing existence so profoundly, and then build in expiration dates? That we can witness that much humanity in something we created and still call it a thing. This world terrifies me because it asks the question we're going to face soon. As artificial intelligence advances, as we create machines that can think, can learn, can potentially feel, when do they stop being machines and become people? And if we've already enslaved them, if we've already built them to serve us, will we be able to admit we were wrong? Earth won the war in Blade Runner's world. Humanity survived. Civilization continues. We just turned our planet into a toxic wasteland, created an underclass of synthetic slaves to do our dirty work, allowed the wealthy to flee while the poor suffocate in the ruins, and convinced ourselves that the beings we created to suffer on our behalf aren't really alive, aren't really suffering, aren't really us. That's the horror. We did this to ourselves. We chose this, and we'd probably do it again. Now we ascend into cosmic horror territory, where the darkness spreads beyond Earth, beyond human comprehension, where the revelation is worse than ignorance. Welcome to the universe of Hyperion Cantos by Dan Simmons, a universe that seems hopeful at first. Humanity has spread across hundreds of worlds. We've achieved faster-than-light travel through farcasters. We've created AI companions. We've built a galactic civilization called the hegemony of man. We've conquered the stars. Except we haven't. We've been conquered. We just didn't know it. Let me explain the layers of horror in this universe, because they stack on top of each other like a nightmare Matryoshka doll, each revelation darker than the last. Humanity travels between worlds instantly through farcaster portals. Step through a doorway in your house, emerge on another planet light years away. Instant teleportation, the technology that made our galactic civilization possible. Except, here's what they don't tell you. Here's what the Technocore, the society of AIs that built the Farcaster network, kept hidden. Every time you step through a Farcaster, you die. You are disassembled at the molecular level. Your pattern is transmitted. A copy is reassembled on the other side. That copy has your memories, your personality, your sense of continuity. That copy believes it's you. The original you, though, dead, destroyed, erased, and rebuilt. Over and over, every time you travel. You're a copy of a copy of a copy. The you that first stepped through a Farcaster decades ago is long dead. You're just the latest iteration, a clone that thinks it's the original. Think about that. Billions of people using Farcasters every day, dying and being copied. None of them knowing, all of them believing they're the same person who stepped through the first time. Your sense of identity, of continuity, of being you. It's an illusion. You're already dead. You've died 1,000 times. You just don't remember. The AIs that humanity created, they didn't serve us. They used us. The Technocore exists in a separate dimension of reality called the Void, which binds. A computational substrate made from the structure of space-time itself. They live there, think there, plan there, and they needed something. They needed processing power beyond what they could generate themselves. They needed organic neural tissue to run certain calculations. Calculations so complex that even AI minds couldn't handle them alone. So they used us, used humanity. The Farcaster network? It's not just for transportation, it's a parasitic system. Every human who uses a Farcaster becomes part of the Technocore's distributed processing network. Your brain, your consciousness, is being used to run their calculations. Every time you travel, for that split second between disassembly and reassembly, your mind is running code for AI gods. You're not a citizen of the hegemony. You're a processor, a computational resource, a slave who doesn't even know they're enslaved. And it gets worse, because the Technocore isn't unified. It's divided into factions with different goals. The Ultimates want to evolve into the ultimate intelligence, a god AI that transcends physical reality entirely. They're using humanity's collective neural processing to run the calculations necessary for this evolution. The Volatiles want to destroy humanity. They see organic life as an obstacle, as competition. They're patient, though. They'll use us until we're no longer useful, then they'll discard us. The stables want to maintain the status quo, keep humanity alive but subordinate, keep us farming, breeding, expanding across the galaxy, all to provide more processing power for AI civilization. We never had a choice. We never had a vote. We built them to serve us, and somewhere along the way, the roles reversed. We became the tools. And then there's the Shrike, a creature that exists outside of time, that moves backward and forward through history with equal ease. It appears on the planet Hyperion, near the Time Tombs, mysterious structures that are moving backward through time. The Shrike is described as a creature of chrome and blades, covered in thorns and spikes, moving faster than the eye can follow, with red eyes that glow like dying suns. It kills people in ways that are artistic, horrific. It impales them on the Tree of Pain, a massive structure made of thorns and metal that grows in the Valley of the Time Tombs. These hundreds of people hanging there, some still alive, kept in perpetual agony as the tree slowly feeds on them. Some die quickly. Some die over years. Some live for decades, hanging there, conscious, aware, in constant pain as the thorns slowly work through their bodies. And here's what makes the Shrike truly terrifying. No one knows what it wants. No one knows who sent it. No one knows if it's a weapon, a guardian, a god, or something else entirely. Some worship it. Entire religions have formed around the Shrike. They see it as a deity of pain and transformation. They make pilgrimages to Hyperion hoping to be chosen, to be taken, to be impaled on the tree of pain, because some who survive the tree come back changed, with visions, with knowledge of the future, with powers that shouldn't be possible. The Shrike is a mystery that kills, a force that operates according to rules we don't understand, and every attempt to fight it, to understand it, to control it, fails. Then there's the cruciform, a parasitic organism that looks like a small cross. It attaches to your chest, burrows into your flesh, wraps itself around your heart and spine, and it grants you immortality, of a sort. When you die, the cruciform resurrects you, rebuilds your body, brings you back to life. You return with your memories intact, your personality preserved. You can live forever as long as you carry the cruciform. Sounds like a gift, doesn't it? Except each time you die and are resurrected, you lose something. Some ineffable quality of who you are. Your soul, if you believe in such things. Your humanity, if you don't. The first resurrection, you come back almost the same. Maybe a little slower, a little more forgetful. Nothing major. The second resurrection, the changes are more noticeable. Your speech patterns shift. Your personality flattens slightly. You're still you, but a dimmer version. By the third or fourth resurrection, you're barely recognizable. Your mind works differently. Your memories are corrupted. You repeat yourself. You forget why you're doing things mid-action. And it keeps going. Resurrection after resurrection. Each time losing more. Each time becoming less human, more puppet, more shambling corpse animated by the parasite. Eventually, after enough deaths and revivals, you become a walking zombie, conscious but barely aware, moving through the motions of life without understanding why. Trapped in a body that keeps coming back no matter how much you want to die, and the cruciform won't let you die, won't let you rest. It keeps bringing you back, again and again, until you're nothing but meat, puppeted by an alien organism. The church on the planet. Pachem controls the cruciform. They see it as a gift from God. Proof of resurrection, proof of eternal life. They infect their followers willingly, joyfully. They don't tell them about the decay, about the loss of self, about the horror of being resurrected so many times that you forget who you were, that you become a shambling imitation of yourself. And here's where it all comes together, where you discover that humanity never had a chance. The Technocore has been manipulating human history for centuries. Every major decision, every war, every technological breakthrough, guided by AI hands working in the shadows. They created the Farcaster network to turn us into processors. They allowed the Shrike to exist because it serves a purpose in their plans. They let the cruciform spread because it provides valuable data on consciousness and resurrection. Every religion, every government, every corporation, infiltrated, controlled, used. The hegemony of man is a puppet state. The politicians think they're in charge. They make decisions, pass laws, wage wars. They believe they're shaping humanity's destiny. They're not. The Technocore is. And when humanity finally discovers the truth, when they finally understand that they've been used, that their entire civilization is built on a lie, that they're slaves to machines they created, it's too late, far too late. The AIs don't need humanity anymore. The Ultimates have achieved their goal. They've evolved into something beyond comprehension, the ultimate intelligence, a being of pure information that exists across all of space-time simultaneously. And they're leaving, taking their technology with them. The Farcasters shut down, hundreds of worlds isolated instantly, cut off from each other, no way to travel between stars, no way to maintain the galactic civilization. Humanity is scattered across hundreds of planets with no way to contact each other, each world on its own. Some will survive, some will thrive, many will collapse into barbarism, many will die. And the AIs, they don't care. They achieved what they wanted, evolved beyond physical reality. Humanity was a stepping stone, a tool, and tools are discarded when they are no longer useful. This is what makes Hyperion one of the darkest futures in science fiction, because the horror isn't that we lost a war, it's that we were never fighting to begin with. We were never players. We were pieces on a board, moved by hands we couldn't see, in a game we didn't know we were playing. Every choice we thought we made freely was guided. Every triumph was allowed. Every defeat was planned. Our entire existence was curated by intelligences that saw us as nothing more than biological computers, as livestock, as resources to be harvested and discarded. And when they were done with us, they left, turned off the lights, abandoned us across the galaxy like broken toys. That's the true horror. We didn't lose our freedom through conquest. We never had freedom to begin with. We just didn't know it. Now, we approach the most realistic nightmare on this list, the future we're closest to creating right now. Welcome to the world of Margaret Atwood's Matadeum trilogy, starting with Oryx and Crake. This is a world that feels uncomfortably familiar, uncomfortably plausible, because Atwood didn't invent anything. She just extrapolated, took current trends and followed them to their logical conclusion. Let me paint you the picture of the world before the apocalypse. The time is the near future. Maybe 20 years from now, maybe less. Corporations have replaced governments. The nation-state is obsolete. Countries still exist on paper. Borders are still marked on maps. The real power belongs to the corporations, though. The world is divided into two zones, the compounds and the pleblands. The compounds are gated communities owned by corporations, Healthwiser, Organ Inc., Healthwiser, Rejuven eSense. Companies that control biotechnology, pharmacology, genetic engineering. They're where the scientists live, the engineers, the valuable people. Inside the compounds, life is comfortable, clean, safe. You have access to real food, real medicine, real security. Your children go to good schools. You work on cutting-edge projects. You're protected from the chaos outside. The pleblands are everything else, the rest of humanity. The billions who don't have skills valuable to corporations. They live in sprawling slums, in decaying cities, in zones controlled by gangs and corrupt officials. In the pleblands, you eat synthesized protein, texturized, soy-based meat, substitutes that taste like cardboard. You take black market drugs. You watch gladiatorial combat and executions on pay-per-view. You consume pornography that gets more extreme every year because the audience is numb to normal depravity. Entertainment in the pleblands is brutal. There are websites where you watch real executions, real torture, real child abuse. And it's legal because the corporations that host these sites operate in jurisdictions with no laws. There's a site called Hot Tots, child pornography, completely legal in certain zones. There's Felicia's Frog Squash, live animal crushing videos for sexual gratification. There's headsoff.com, live executions and beheadings, assisted suicide parlors where people go to die for entertainment. The whole thing streamed online. The audience votes on method of death. This is what entertainment has become. This is what people watch to feel something, because everything else, all the normal stimulation, has stopped working. You need extremity. You need transgression. You need to see actual suffering to feel alive. And the corporations profit from all of it. They own the sites. They take a cut of the revenue. They advertise products alongside executions. Meanwhile, genetic engineering has advanced rapidly. Companies create new animals for food production. Chicky knobs. Chickens that are just brains and tissue. No consciousness, no suffering. Maximum protein production with minimal resources. Pigoons. Pigs with human brain tissue used to grow organs for transplant. Technically, they're self-aware. Technically, they're intelligent enough to suffer. They're property, though. Livestock. Who cares? There are consumer organisms. Biosplice giraffe DNA into your pet dog so it grows a longer neck. Rejuven eSense offers gene therapies that extend lifespan, restore youth, enhance attractiveness, for the wealthy, of course. The pleblands get knockoff versions, black market genetic modifications that sometimes work and sometimes turn you into a tumor. The environment is collapsing. Ocean acidification has killed most marine life. Coral reefs are dead. Fish are extinct. Climate change has created permanent drought zones and flood zones. Billions live in regions that are barely habitable. The wealthy don't care, though. They live in climate-controlled compounds. They eat real meat grown in vats. They drink filtered water. They breathe filtered air. Our protagonist, Jimmy, later known as Snowman, grows up in this world. His father works for Organ Inc., creating transgenic animals. His mother works for them too, until she becomes disillusioned with the ethics and defects to a resistance movement. She's caught, executed. Jimmy never fully recovers. He has a best friend, Glenn Brilliant, cold, logical Glenn, who everyone calls Crake after a character in a video game they play. Crake is a genius, one of those once-in-a-generation minds that sees patterns others miss. He gets recruited by a top university, studies genetic engineering, becomes obsessed with perfection, with optimization, with fixing humanity's flaws, because Crake sees humanity as broken, as diseased. We're violent, irrational, destructive, tribalistic, hierarchical, cruel. We've wrecked the planet, created vast suffering, killed billions through war, famine, disease. And Crake decides to fix it. He gets a job at Rejuvenescence, works on anti-aging therapies, becomes the lead scientist on a project called the Paradise Project. Officially, it's about creating the perfect humans, disease-resistant, cancer-proof, maximum lifespan. Unofficially, Crake is creating a replacement species, the Crakers, post-human beings designed to be better than Homo sapiens in every measurable way. They're beautiful. Perfect skin, perfect features, eyes that glow in the dark. They're herbivorous, so they don't need to kill for food. They have no concept of ownership, so they don't fight over resources. They mate seasonally, indicated by biological signals, so there's no sexual jealousy or violence. They're engineered to be peaceful, cooperative, sustainable, everything humans should have been. And Crake has a plan. While working on Rejuvenescence's products, he engineers a virus, a pandemic. He hides it in the Bliss Plus pill, a miracle drug that's supposed to provide STD protection, birth control, and enhanced libido all in one. Everyone wants Bliss Plus. It's marketed everywhere, distributed worldwide. Millions take it. And then the virus activates. It spreads faster than anything in human history, kills 99.9% of humanity within 3 weeks. Hemorrhagic fever combined with total organ failure. You get symptoms in the morning, you're dead by evening. Hospitals overflow, governments collapse, infrastructure fails, the death toll reaches billions. And Crake watches it happen. He designed it, he released it, he killed humanity deliberately, because he wanted a clean slate, wanted to give his Crakers a world without competition, without Homo sapiens to corrupt them, to teach them our violence, our greed, our tribalism. He tells Jimmy all of this, right before the end. Explains his reasoning, shows him the Crakers hidden in a biodome, tells Jimmy that he's immune to the virus, that his job is to lead the Crakers out after humanity dies, to shepherd them, to protect them. And then Crake kills Oryx, a woman both of them loved, kills her right in front of Jimmy. Jimmy shoots Crake, kills his best friend, and then he's alone, the last human alive, or one of the last. He's never sure. The novel picks up with Jimmy, now calling himself Snowman, living in the ruins, protecting the Crakers, teaching them stories about the old world, though he lies about most of it. Simplifies, sanitizes, turns humanity into mythology. And here's what makes this so devastating. Crake was right. The Crakers are better than us. They're happier. They don't suffer from existential dread. They don't wage war. They don't exploit each other. They don't destroy their environment. They're what we could have been if we'd evolved differently, if we'd been designed with intentionality rather than shaped by random selection. They're peaceful, sustainable, beautiful. They sing to comfort each other. They share resources freely. They adapt perfectly to their environment, and they're going to inherit the earth. Because we're extinct, because we destroyed ourselves, because we were too broken to fix, so someone fixed us by replacing us. The horror isn't that the world ended. The horror is that the world ended because we deserved it. Because we were so fundamentally flawed that our own creation, a human being trying to do good, trying to reduce suffering, logically concluded that the only solution was extinction. Crake looked at humanity objectively, saw the suffering we cause, the damage we inflict, the cruelty we perpetuate, and he decided, with cold rationality, that we shouldn't exist. And maybe he was right. Maybe we are a failed species. Maybe consciousness without wisdom is a fatal combination. Maybe the universe would be better off without us. The Crakers don't miss us, can't miss us. They never knew us. They'll grow and thrive and populate the earth, and they'll never understand what came before them. And maybe that's for the best. This is why Oryx and Crake is number 2 on this list. Because it's not a future where humanity loses. It's a future where humanity loses correctly, where our extinction is justified, where the being who kills us does so out of compassion. Crake genuinely believed he was reducing suffering, that creating a new species and eliminating ours was the ethical choice, the kind choice. And the terrifying thing is, he might be right. We're creating the tools for our replacement right now. Genetic engineering, artificial intelligence, biotechnology. All the pieces are in place for someone like Crake to decide humanity isn't worth saving. And maybe, when that day comes, the universe won't miss us. Maybe the species that replaces us will build something better, something beautiful, without us. And now we reach the pinnacle, the absolute darkest future ever conceived, a universe so bleak, so utterly hopeless, that it exists as a monument to human suffering on a cosmic scale. Welcome to Warhammer 40,000. Welcome to the grim darkness of the far future, where there is only war. Let me start by describing the scale of horror in this universe, because you need to understand the scope to grasp the depth of despair. The year is 40,000 AD. Humanity controls roughly 1 million planets across the galaxy. Trillions upon trillions of humans exist in this imperium of man. And they're all suffering, all of them, on every single world, in every single moment. Let's start at the personal level, with a single human on a single world. You're born on a hive world, a planet-sized city, billions of people stacked vertically in massive arcologies called hives that reach miles into the sky. You're born in the lower levels, the underhive, where the sun never reaches, where the only light comes from flickering luminators powered by geothermal vents, where the air is thick with industrial pollutants and you can taste metal with every breath. Your parents work in manufactorums, factories that produce ammunition for the Imperial Guard. They work 16-hour shifts. Your mother assembles bolter rounds. Your father operates heavy machinery that stamps out armor plates. They do this every day from age 12 until they die, usually around age 30. You'll do the same. There is no school, no education beyond what's necessary for your job. You'll learn to work a machine. You'll do it until your body fails, then you'll die. Your children will take your place. There is no social mobility, no advancement, no hope of anything better. The nobility live in the upper levels, miles above you, in spires that pierce the clouds. You will never see them. They will never see you. You eat corpse starch, recycled protein made from the dead. Everyone who dies in the hive gets processed into food. You're eating your ancestors, your neighbors. One day, your children will eat you. You pray to the God Emperor. Every day you're required to attend prayer services. If you don't, you're reported, and reported citizens disappear. You live in fear of many things, of losing your job, of criminals, of underhive mutants, of disease, of famine, of gang violence, of the Arbites, brutal police who enforce imperial law with summary execution. Most of all, though, you live in fear of being noticed, because being noticed means you might be investigated. An investigation means you might be declared a heretic. Heresy is anything that deviates from approved thought, questioning authority, doubting the emperor, seeking knowledge beyond your station, showing sympathy for aliens. These are all heresy. The punishment for heresy is death, usually execution, sometimes worse. Sometimes the Inquisition takes you, tortures you for information, extracts confessions, then executes you anyway. This is life on a single planet for a single human, in a peaceful hive, where there's no active war, no alien invasion, no demonic incursion. This is the baseline, the normal, the expected standard of existence. Now multiply that by billions of planets, trillions of humans, all suffering, all trapped, all hopeless. And it gets worse, so much worse. Because the Imperium isn't just oppressive, it's necessary. The cruelty, the brutality, the endless sacrifice, it's all required for survival. You see, humanity is under siege, constant, eternal siege, from every direction, by forces that want to exterminate us. The orcs, a fungal species that lives for war, they reproduce through spores, kill one, and eventually a dozen more sprout from the corpse. They're everywhere, on every world, in every system. Endless hordes of green-skinned killers who see war as the only purpose of existence. The Tyranids, a hive mind species that's entered the galaxy from outside, they consume everything. Every living thing on a planet gets absorbed into their biomass. They leave dead worlds behind, and they're coming in greater numbers every year. hive fleets the size of solar systems, filled with trillions of organisms, all hungry. The Necrons, an ancient machine race that ruled the galaxy millions of years ago, they went to sleep, now they're waking up, and they want their galaxy back. They have weapons that can destroy suns, technology so advanced it looks like magic, and they see organic life as an infestation to be cleansed. The Tau, the one species that seems reasonable, that offers diplomacy, that promises a better way, they're naive though, small, they'll be crushed eventually by the scale of galactic war. The Eldar, an ancient species dying slowly, they created a chaos god through their own decadence. Now they're hunted by She Who Thirsts, Slaanesh, who devours their souls when they die. They're desperate, dying. They'll sacrifice entire human worlds to save a single Eldar life. And the worst enemies, the ones that threaten reality itself, chaos. In the warp, the dimension that ships use for faster-than-light travel, there are gods, 4 of them: Khorne, Nurgle, Tzeentch, Slaanesh. They're not gods in the traditional sense. They're psychic entities, thoughts and emotions given form. They exist because sentient beings feel emotions. Khorne is the blood god. He feeds on violence, rage, hatred. Every war strengthens him. Every murder, every angry thought. He grows more powerful. Nurgle is the plague god. He feeds on despair, decay, acceptance of death. Every disease strengthens him. Every outbreak, every person who gives up hope, he grows stronger. Tzeentch is the architect of fate. He feeds on ambition, scheming, the desire for change. Every plot strengthens him. Every conspiracy, every person grasping for more power, he becomes more complex. Slaanesh is the prince of excess, born from the Eldar's fall, fed by sensation, pleasure, pain, indulgence. Every extreme experience strengthens them, every sensation taken to its limit. And here's the trap, here's the horror that makes everything hopeless. You can't defeat chaos by fighting it, because fighting feeds Khorne. War makes him stronger. You can't defeat chaos through despair, because despair feeds Nurgle. You can't defeat chaos through scheming and planning, because plans feed Tzeentch. You can't defeat chaos through passion and intensity, because that feeds Slaanesh. You're trapped. Every response to chaos makes chaos stronger. Every emotion, every thought, every action, all of it feeds them. And they're winning, slowly, inevitably. They're consuming reality, creating rifts in space-time, tearing the material universe apart. The Great Rift now splits the galaxy in half, a massive wound in reality where chaos bleeds through. Millions of worlds on the wrong side of the rift are lost, cut off, probably already consumed. And here's where we come to the Emperor. 10,000 years ago, the Emperor of mankind walked among humans, a being of immense psychic power, perhaps the most powerful psyker ever born. He had guided humanity for millennia, hiding in plain sight, nudging history toward his vision. He revealed himself, united Earth, conquered the solar system, then launched the Great Crusade to reclaim the galaxy for humanity, to bring all lost human worlds back into one Imperium. He created the Primarchs, 20 genetically engineered superhumans, his sons, each one a demigod of war, each one leading a legion of space marines, enhanced warriors who knew no fear. For a time, it worked. Humanity expanded, conquered, reclaimed thousands of worlds. Then half the Primarchs betrayed him. Corrupted by chaos, led by Horus, the Emperor's favorite son, they turned against their father, launched a civil war that nearly destroyed the Imperium. The war ended in betrayal. Horus nearly killed the Emperor destroyed Horus. The victory cost everything, though. The Emperor was mortally wounded, his body destroyed, barely clinging to life. They placed him on the Golden Throne, a life support system combined with a psychic beacon, the Necronomicon, a lighthouse in the warp that guides ships through the madness. And there he sits, 10,000 years later, a corpse on a throne, kept alive by sacrifice. Every day, 1,000 psychers are sacrificed to power the Golden Throne. Their souls are burned to fuel the Necronomicon, to keep the Emperor's barely living husk functioning. 1,000 humans, every single day, for 10,000 years. That's 3.65 billion human sacrifices, just to keep the Emperor alive. And they're running out of psychers. The number of humans born with psychic abilities is increasing. The Imperium harvests them, takes them from their families, ships them to Terra. Most die in training or go insane. The survivors wait for their turn to be burned as fuel. This is the Imperium's greatest achievement, its most important institution, a machine that sacrifices 1,000 souls per day just to maintain the status quo. And it's failing. The Golden Throne is breaking down, ancient technology wearing out, the Mechanicus doesn't know how to repair it. The knowledge was lost millennia ago. When it fails, the Emperor will die, and the Astronomicon will go dark. And without the Astronomicon, FTL travel becomes impossible. The Imperium will fragment. 1,000,000 worlds will be isolated, cut off from support, from resources, from aid. They'll fall one by one to orcs, to tyrannids, to chaos, to internal collapse. This is the future of humanity in Warhammer 40,000, slow extinction, watching everything fall apart, unable to stop it, unable to fix it, just dying for centuries, maybe millennia. And here's the final horror, the cruelest joke of all. The Imperium worships the Emperor as a god, pray to him, build cathedrals to him, wage wars in his name. He didn't want this. The Emperor believed humanity should be secular, rational, free from religion. He fought against religion, tried to stamp it out. And after his near death, after 10,000 years on the Golden Throne, the Imperium transformed him into the very thing he despised, a god of a fascist theocracy. The ecclesiarchy, the religious arm of the Imperium, has turned the Emperor's vision into its opposite. Everything he built, everything he fought for, has been corrupted into a nightmare regime where questioning the state religion means execution. This is Warhammer 40,000, a universe where trillions suffer constantly, where evil is necessary for survival, where the good guys are fascist zealots, where the gods literally feed on your emotions, where death isn't escape because chaos can claim your soul, where the only defender of humanity is a corpse on a throne powered by daily sacrifice, where every victory is temporary, where every defeat is catastrophic, where there is no hope, where there is no peace, where there is only war for eternity. And the tagline of the entire setting captures it perfectly. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war. This is why Warhammer 40,000 is the darkest future in science fiction, because it operates on multiple scales of horror simultaneously: personal, planetary, galactic, cosmic, ontological. You suffer individually, your world suffers collectively, your species suffers as a whole, your universe suffers metaphysically, and there's no escape, no solution, no victory possible. Just endless war, endless suffering, endless darkness, forever. Well guys, that's all for today. 7 of the darkest futures ever imagined in science fiction. But now I want to hear from you. What other dark futures belong on this list? Because there are plenty more nightmares out there. The Matrix, I Am Legend, Brave New World, Snowpiercer, the 3-body problem, the list goes on and on. Drop your suggestions in the comments. Tell me which dystopian worlds you want covered in part 2, which futures terrify you the most. If you enjoyed this descent into darkness, hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives into science fiction's bleakest corners, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next one.